苏菲。
苏菲啊，看一下，你看看这个。
This video has become the latest controversy in China. Some brands used recycled cotton from the likes of cigarette butts and other used cotton material to make feminine pads. And some videos show that the pads show a yellow color under a light. The ones I checked with my wife are not that color here in the US. So this started a pads buying frenzy among girls in China and also in Japan too. This video describes the day in the life of a Chinese woman.
早上在黑心棉被里醒来，然后换上一片毒卫生巾，用砒霜眼影化个妆，贴个甲醛假睫毛，上班困一天，穿上货不对版的网购女装，喝一杯勾兑豆浆，2个淋巴肉做的包子，中午点个尿素袋做的僵尸肉套餐一份，下班路上在布满摄像头的换衣间拍个 OOTD。和姐妹约着一起做全卷美甲、洗提空指甲，回到全是甲醛的精装修家里，晚上再用夺命碗吃个没有木薯粉的木薯粉，再加一根古泥做的淀粉肠。
And a girl streamer has been embroiled in a controversy that allegedly offended the honor of Chinese sports. Okay, so today's video, I'll either be called a feminist or a sexist in the comment. Let's see which one I get called more. And actually, thinking about that, maybe, wait. All right, so you got to put the hair in the bun, it's not long enough. So yeah, I don't know if this covers the mansplaining part or the feminism part. I don't know, okay? Again, let me know in the comments which one I'll get. Wu Liufang is a former Olympic gymnast who became a live streamer doing revealing dances. And when another former gymnast commented in one of her videos about this thirst trap, saying that it was inappropriate for athletes, Wu's Douyin account actually exploded with more followings. But then, of course, the bad news came. Her account got suspended in terms of new follows, and she likely got spoken to by authorities, and she made an apology video and deleted some of the revealing dance videos that she had. And of course, she got put through an online struggle session for this. Yeah, allegedly bringing shame to Chinese sports. Because, that's apparently the most shameful thing. Not the Peng Shuai situation, right? Where the tennis star was literally sexually abused. That's apparently not shameful enough. Anyway, so is sexy dancing in China banned? No. Is being an influencer from an athlete bad? No. But if you're Miss Wu, who apparently carries the role of both, then that's troublesome and you should feel ashamed for yourself. That's what they're saying. Now, she wasn't even the only retired athlete to do this. This is another one. She's a former fencer named Qin Xue. She also became an internet celebrity doing these so-called skirting the edge videos or thirst trap videos. In response to the criticism, she says that she doesn't care about the fame. She just wants to make money. She has a 3-year-old daughter to take care of.
Okay, as I'm editing this video, a third athlete has been accused of thirst trapping. She's a former swimmer, and she says that, am I supposed to swim in a winter jacket? This is getting crazy.
And I think the better question to ask, rather than blaming them, is why can't the Chinese government take care of their star athletes? So through today's video, I want to address something that's been on my mind and been wanting to talk about for a very long time, which is China has failed its women. Before we get started though, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we have a lot of these thought-provoking videos about China every single week, as well as it's almost the end of the year. If you want to help support the channel, consider checking out our donation link. We work with a nonprofit that abides by the 501c3 in the United States, so that it is tax deductible for your contribution. So if you want to support the channel, it will help us push out better videos, get equipment, gears, and all those things, and even travel to different places. So yeah, check out the link in the description. All right, let's continue. Now, when it comes to women, or the role of women in China in contemporary history, so after 1949 when the CCP took power, well, it's a very long and complicated topic. But let's just try to keep it simple. This is how girls look like in the 1960s and 70s. And then when reform and opening up happened in the 80s, well, the sudden increase or inflow of materialistic values into the Chinese society, people were essentially drunken on the ideas that they need to make a lot of money. So naturally, with the gender imbalance issues, with the one-child policy focusing more on boys than girls, a lot of these became increasingly dramatic in terms of their severity. Now, you've likely heard of some terms like the leftover women population, right? These people who haven't been married in their 30s. Or even another term called no girls or nowhere girls. Serpenzier actually did a really great video on this, but these are the girls who won't conform their values or their actions to that of the men's standards. And so obviously they don't fit into this trend of society. And so China, or at least a certain part of China, leaves them behind. Now, these are relatively good terms. They're not great terms, but they're relatively good to describe. China also does this where they categorize different populations, right? Because that's how the CCP works, or that's how really the communist tactics work. They divide and conquer. So they need to categorize and group people into different sort of labels all the time. So let's start with the worst example. In 2022, in a small village, a woman was chained to her little, I don't even know what to call it, hut or something. And when asked, she had been essentially forced to marry this guy. She was trafficked and she was raped and then forced to give birth to multiple children to this man. Now, after the public opinion just basically blew up over China and even, out into the world, that the CCP had finally done something, they, jailed the guy and everybody that was involved. But still, that was one of the worst case. And it really sparked a lot of discussion about women's rights in China, or even just not even rights, but the equality issue, right? So one is that China has failed to protect women in these trafficking issues, especially if they're from the rural countryside. At a very young age, they go seek jobs in the towns or cities. Chance of them getting trafficked is very high. But a new social condition has been brewing lately, especially since China's economy has been dying, which is something called a low consumption circle or a low consumption cycle. It's what happens when you have a crashing economy, you have a lack of jobs, and you have a gender imbalance issue. In this low consumption condition, what's been happening for girls is that more and more of them are going into X work. And it's varying degrees of related fields, including these like thirst trap live streamings. Obviously, compared to actual X work, the live streaming aspect is like the more benign one. They have to survive. They have to find jobs. They have to provide for the family. Sometimes they're the only income earner in the house. Sometimes they have to, supplement maybe the husband lost the job too, right? Both of them lost a job. So obviously work is a very quick way to make some money so that they can live. That's increasingly become a reality in China. Now, of course, like I mentioned, some people still have some moral values within them, even though the entire society has gone materialistic completely. Some people don't want to sell their body. They turn to live streaming.
这个社会到底怎么了，兄弟们，你们看吧，是什么原因造成的这种？兄弟们，你们看吧，这个社会到底怎么了？我看不明白了，兄弟们，你们看吧。
The reality is live streaming is the most profitable thing in China right now. So there's this like new consumption cycle, and especially for younger people too, because there's this, it's a semi-joke, but it's also kind of a reality, which is that people in China, like boys, when they graduate from college, they got no jobs, they go become delivery drivers. Girls, when they graduate from college, they have no jobs, they become live streamers. So what happens when a live streamer gets hungry? She orders food from delivery. So the delivery boy delivers the food. And then when the delivery boy is on break, he watches the live streaming girl. And then there's also the third type, which is security guards. These are the people, obviously, they didn't go to college, but they still struggle to get a job. They get the chance to watch the live stream while ordering takeout from the boys. And that's China now. Let's focus more on what specifically made this gymnast case so unique in this current environment. I kind of briefly touched on this already. In the world of entertainment, stars and athletes in China, there's something called a hidden rule, which is basically like the same as Me Too movement in Hollywood. And so if you don't cozy up with a CCP official, you become their mistress or something like that behind the scenes, you're not going to shine continuously, right? So for people who want to kind of just, they don't want to touch that part, boys and girls, well, they get brushed aside.
就是我现在跟大家说一下我为什么开始做互联网，因为我们都也许有很多人家里条件不是很好，但是包括我从小开始我家条件不是很好，但是我献出了我整个青春去从事体操这个行业，但是我没有拿到最好的成绩，也就是说我没有走到顶峰。顶峰是什么？顶峰是奥运冠军。奥运冠军意味着什么？有米，有房，有车，但是我没有这些东西，我得靠自己。
Okay, getting to this part, I just realized that's literally like the Hunger Games. Only the winner of the Hunger Games gets a house, gets food, and gets, I guess, treated like a normal human beings. So everybody's got to be like Peter Malak or Katniss Everdeen to.
So despite being a member or a former member of the Olympics team, the Chinese government really doesn't provide a path of success for its athletes. According to online information about Wu, the gymnast, she wasn't allowed to compete in the 2008 Olympics, even though she made the national team, because of internal politics. They apparently wanted some veterans to compete against the likes of Russia and UK and America. So she didn't go, even though some of her talents in certain events were actually there. It's just politics. Now, she did go on to win medals at different international gymnastic competitions and then go on to retire in 2013. But what happens with gymnasts in China is China has this like Soviet Russia like very rigorous systematic training for gymnastics. So young boys and girls are picked and they get put through this rigorous training for their entire youth and young adulthood, that when they come out, they struggle with actual living, like proper education, a degree, and things like that. So if they're not the best of the best, sometimes they even get rejected halfway through. So they wasted all this time doing this. With the case of Wu too, she tried different jobs. She became a coach, but she wasn't made full time, so she quit. She tried teaching, and apparently she wasn't paid by the teaching institution for a while, so she quit. And then she signed a live streaming deal. And here she started making some money. And she was also found to be doing a lot of charity work on the side. So obviously this live streaming job allows her to do that, to fund her charity work on the side. She seems like a nice person that wants to contribute to society. Look, so I talk about morals in China, or the lack of morals in China, all the time. And I don't think that girls need to go into X work or any of this stuff to make money. That shouldn't be the norm. I do think that the reason the Chinese government is shaming her for doing this is out of the pure attempt to preserve the so-called integrity of Chinese sports. If that really was the case, they shouldn't have silenced Peng Shuai from speaking out about her abuse. Why is she targeted in the end? Because she represents the unique case of not having a strong family background, of having hard work, having some talent, but ultimately was rejected from the entire thing due to politics. That didn't pay off. She tried to find alternatives to survive and live, and unfortunately she's been caged in those areas as well. And I think the scenario we got to be asking is, would she be better off becoming a mistress of some CCP official, or was she better off if she actually went into real X work in China? Like I mentioned, the gymnastics side is just brutal. They stripped her entire youthful life, and now they're asking her to remain that way for the rest of her life. And so, I mean, as hard as for me to say this, she's just fitting in with the trend of the Chinese society right now. I don't think she should be made a role model for young girls to aspire to do this, right? Or, OnlyFans or whatever else that they do now. What I just find, or what angers me is the most, is that the CCP uses sports already to brush up on their image, to cover up their atrocities in human rights and other areas, and to really persecute the entire population. So women in China are constantly categorized based on their values and who they cozy up with, which CCP official. And more women are going into X work than ever before. That's not normal. This is one of the videos of many, which obviously I don't want to show too much, but it's showing an alleyway filled with window girls. It's very common in China. This one is in a KTV. You get rows of them you get to select. If a country can't even guarantee the sanitary status of their feminine pads, or can't even stop or provide some support for girls who have to go into X work because the economy is so bad, I don't think they're in a position to criticize those people for trying to make a living. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think I was being a feminist or a sexist towards women? Either way, let me know your thoughts, opinions on this particular topic. Also, consider checking out davidzhang.net for our ugly Christmas sweater collection and get it before your Christmas party. And yeah, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, bye-bye.